Capital One just made massive changes to their flagship credit card, the Venture X, that everyone seems to be talking about over the past few days. We're going to dive into what the actual change is, how it impacts you, and how you can plan for this upcoming change that is going live in 2026. So on June 3rd, Capital One Venture X credit card holders received an email directly from Capital One announcing upcoming changes to the Venture X lounge access. So as you can see here on the email that I received, they talk about how they're dedicated to a best-in-class airport lounge experience for our VentureX customers. They noted that as lounges have increased in popularity and more people have taken advantage of these awesome perks of the VentureX with lounge access, not only on Capital One lounges, but Priority Pass lounges, there's been some overcrowding. And this is something that I can attest to from firsthand experience with different wait times in different lounges across the US. So to address this, they're changing who can actually enter the lounges based on if they hold the card or if they're an authorized user or a guest. So this change that's starting February 1st, 2026, so well into the future at a good 8 months from filming, they're announcing that additional cardholders on the VentureX will not automatically have lounge access. How it has currently worked is that if you have a VentureX card, like I do, you're able to add authorized users for free to the VentureX card. So they all get their own card. And not only do they get their own card, but they also get automatic lounge access to the Capital One lounges, Priority Pass, as well as the landings. And on top of that, not only did they get their own lounge access, they could bring in additional guests just based on being an authorized user of the card. So that's going to change going forward, because now going forward, primary card holders can pay an additional fee of $125 per authorized users to allow them to continue to have this awesome lounge access on both Capital One lounges, landings, and Priority Pass. They do note that these authorized users can continue to hold their card without lounge access for completely free, which was already a nice perk. So within those guest access changes, beginning February 1st, 2026, guests of VentureX cardholders now have to pay a discounted fee of $35 per visit for Priority Pass lounges. Within the Capital One lounges and landings, that cost is $45 per guest per visit, and it's $25 for guests 17 years and younger. There is a bit of a caveat here on if you're spending $75,000 annually on this credit card that you'll still be able to bring in guests for free, but for the most part, if you're watching this, you're most likely not spending 75 grand on just this single credit card per year, but they do want to make sure that the relationship with their high spenders is intact, because credit card companies gain a lot of fees, not only on carrying balances, which everyone knows of, but the actual transaction fee. Whenever someone swipes their credit card, the credit card companies get a kickback. So if someone's spending $75,000 on this card, they want to ensure that they keep using it, because that's where credit card companies are making so much money. And so this discounted fee of $45 per Capital One lounge visit or $35 for Priority Pass may make sense in some instances, because the break-even cost there isn't all that bad. If I'm going to a Capital One lounge more than 3 times a year as a guest of someone and I can't get approved for the Capital One Venture X, then my break-even analysis is I just have to go 3 times to get my money back. And the Capital One lounges are pretty awesome. You get free drinks, free food, and you can recoup your money pretty quickly if you don't have any other lounge access at the specific airport that you're based out of. However, it might make sense in some cases to just get your own credit card if you're able to, because of the break-even analysis on the card as a whole. Within the Capital One Venture X, you get a $300 travel credit each year on card renewal, as well as another $100 in the form of points that can also be redeemed on travel. And so it's really easy to get your money back on a break even of getting $400 at a minimum of value as long as you're traveling for a cost of $395 per year. You also get a number of different perks in addition to these lounges, like TSA pre-check and Hertz complimentary executive status. So now that we've covered the actual change, let's dive into who it actually impacts the most. And so in my opinion, I think that this really targets most heavily people who are traveling with friends and family or kids pretty often, not so much solo travelers, which we're going to talk about in a second. And say these families are going to lounges in Denver, Dallas, or Washington, D.C., and Dulles. And so these families with one primary card holder are able to bring in these multiple guests, kids, their spouse, and just able to go in for free. And so these people are kind of the ones who are able to really take advantage and almost in a way overcrowd some of these lounges that Capital One is trying to prioritize and protect. And so if you're in that situation, it might make sense for your player two to get a Capital One Venture X card because of that break-even analysis, or you can still go in for free, and it reduces the cost of if you all want to go in for some specific reason. I don't think everyone loses in this big Capital One change as it relates to lounges, because I think it really helps out the solo travelers in this situation. So I can speak from firsthand experience. I often connect through Dallas on my way from California to DC. And whenever I go to the DFW airport, I try to target the Capital One lounge because it's a great experience. Free drinks, free food, save a lot of money. But because my connection times aren't always that long, I don't have time to wait and sit in a line to get into that lounge before connecting on my next flight. And so for me, multiple times I've not been able to get into the lounge on time to be able to then catch my next flight. I think with this change, it might be interesting to see how that wait time is different. Even if I have an hour between my connecting flights, I might be able to get in now. Whereas before, there was sometimes a long wait of 30, 45 minutes, and there was just no chance to get from there back to the gate I needed to go to. So in this case, I think solo travelers really come out ahead, but people who are traveling in families or with a bunch of their friends in big groups for really fun trips, I think those are the people that lose out pretty significantly with this big change. Even though it feels like the sky is falling with these giant changes to the Capital One Venture X and the lounge access, this access has just been so overpowered since the card opened up back in 2021 that you kind of had to expect that some change like this was coming eventually. I honestly am more appreciative of them not raising the annual fee just to allow other people to access lounges when they may not even be taking advantage of it if they're not based in an airport where you have Capital One lounges or landings or really good priority pass lounges. So I actually do prefer this change over increasing the annual fee because then it's more selective on who it impacts. You have ways to work around this by opening up a new card, paying the annual fee for the authorized users to continue to take advantage of the lounges, or you can just sit back and say, yeah, okay, I'm going to look at other lounges and different credit cards instead of the Capital One Venture X. This gives you a lot more options on how to adapt and react to this change than it would be if they just jacked up the annual fee by another $100, $125, or made it more of a coupon book like Amex cards. So going forward, here's what I think you can do to actually address these changes and make sure you're ready. So with the change being announced for February of next year, you have plenty of time to still take advantage of all these great group trips that you might be going on and have this great lounge access for the free food and drink while you're there. Especially if you're traveling through airports like Dallas, Denver, or DC, you might want to see and experience these lounges to see whether or not it's something that you want to pay for if you're just an authorized user on a card versus having your own, and see whether or not it makes sense for you. I think if you're traveling internationally a lot, the priority pass lounges are significantly better than those in the States. So that might make sense to look at and explore whether or not your travel takes you there often and whether or not it makes sense for you to continue being an authorized user. As we kind of touched on earlier, another option to take advantage and get around this change is just to get your own card. And depending on whether your credit score is high enough or you have too many cards, which in some cases prevents you from getting this Capital One Venture X because Capital One is very particular on the number of cards that you have recently and the accounts that you have open, as I saw from personal experience because I had to wait a really, really long time to get approved for this card. But knowing that this change is coming in the future, you can start planning now and maybe cutting back on some of your new credit card applications and opening up new accounts in case you really want to be approved for this card starting next year if you're currently sitting as an authorized user on someone else's card and haven't been able to get approved for your own. Depending on the airport that you're based out of, you might be able to take advantage of a number of different airport lounges that aren't Priority Pass based or Capital One Venture X based. And so you can look at whether or not your cards have access to these other lounges or explore opening up new credit cards where you can take advantage of these other lounges. So all in all, while this change is really impactful and feels really significant, I think it's an important reminder that we need to take advantage of the great perks and the rewards that exist in our favorite credit cards today because it could very likely change tomorrow. Speaking of things that are changing tomorrow, point valuations and devaluations constantly change and ebb and flow over the course of time. And so to protect ourselves, we need to be taking advantage of them and actually redeeming our points for awesome rewards in travel. And to better be able to maximize your points, you can check out this video to get more value out of them, or this video right here on how to increase your credit score fast to actually be able to be approved for the Capital One Venture X before this change comes next year. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you like and comment and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks so much.